Okay, howdy folks. We're putting this thing back together. Don't mind the noise behind you. That's just the dryer running. Okay, we've got all of our parts clean. We got new bearings put on. Yes, Mike did bring us new bearings. The 6003, that goes on the front here. The 6200, that goes on the back. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you're using one of these tools, you're going to need something smaller than this to go on to this, because if you don't, it won't come off, because the actual bearing itself, the ID of the bearing, is actually smaller than the OD of the press screw. So keep that in mind. This one's from, as we all know, from the Harbor Freight. So maybe you got one with a smaller screw, but what I did is I put a bolt between here and here, and all this tool does is goes, well, you open up sides, you clamp it on, run your set screw down. It's very adjustable. So, and then what I did is that I took the plastic hammer and I started whacking these things down. They actually do press back on fairly easy just by whacking them with the plastic hammer. At least this one did. And I set them with just a standard impact socket. You know, I just found one that fit and drove it down. It does, each one does have a stop on the back. It does have that machined into the backside, so you will know when it bottoms out. Don't be forcing it further than that, or else you'll damage your bearing or your rotor. So keep that in mind. Nice tool to have. You might be able to get this done with a 3-jaw puller. I just didn't want to have that headache, and since this was the first time that I was using the bearing separator tool, I really didn't want to put a bunch of bloopers on the camera. So motor rotor's clean, bolts are clean, housings are clean. Well, this is where if you don't mind getting dirty, yeah. So now don't forget the thrust washer. So we're just going to put a dab of grease in there, and we're going to run it around. We need more grease. And you don't want to just pack this thing full. I'm just going to do the teeth. And that should be more than enough lubrication for this. I mean, you crack open a 4.5-inch angle grinder and they got less grease than what I'm putting in here. And they're using some very questionable quality grease. So just think about that. I'm going to try and get some grease in there, because if when you're taking this apart, you'll figure it out that the internal shaft here does ride inside here, and they do not have this bushed, and I do not understand why they don't have it bushed, because you got a machine shaft on just a casting, and that's just, in my opinion, not the proper way to do it. Although they do have a bearing in here and a bushing on the other side. It's just, this is a diesel starter. I mean, you're talking about 25.5 to 1 compression ratio here, folks. This is not some little 1.7 liter Honda motor we're talking about. You know, we're talking about 6.2 liters of Detroit iron, literal iron, because I don't think that there's an aluminum part on that diesel. So as you saw, I just put the thrust washer in. I gave it a little dab of grease, gave the internal here a little dab of grease, and we should be ready to put this section back together. Now, do you remember which one goes where? This is what I was telling you about. I'm gonna shoot some lanolin in there. Last thing we need is for it to corrode. Long one goes here on the bottom. That's an 8, right? Yep, it's the 8. Now you want to get it started, and then you want to get your other one in. Now there's really no machining that really gets these parts aligned correctly, which really is surprising for something with this much pressure on it. At least for me, because as I've said countless times before, 25.5 to 1 compression ratio. I mean, to put that into perspective, you look at high performance gas engines, you know, the guys like on Street Outlaws with their blown big blocks, they're probably running 14, maybe 15.5 to 1 compression ratio on their blown motors. So we're just gonna tighten these up. Now I'm gonna grease where the rotor goes. Because I know if I don't, I'll be kicking myself in the butt later. Now, they've got where the bearing goes, it's just a slip fit into the casting, so don't worry about that. There we go. Now, can I get this on? Or am I tearing it back apart? Now, I do realize that there is a tool to pull these apart. I just don't own one. So, and I did that wrong, folks, because I forgot the seal. There's a seal that goes here, and we're just going to lubricate that. A little bit of penetrant. So, just slide that down in there. Take the rotor, take your housing sections, and then try and align it up. Okay. Now comes the back cap. I'm just going to leave the back cap alone. And slide your large bolts in. Get them slightly started. So yes, Mike did come through and he did find us bearings, so kudos to Mike. Because the local auto parts stores did not have, well, I'm back to Butterfinger days. And I did it again, folks. I forgot the other seal. So, yay! Come on, Butterfinger. We're gonna just lubricate this seal again. We're done with the grease. trying to get the seal to rejuvenate, because I was not able to find a seal in time, seeing as how kind of need that truck, kind of need the truck going today, so we might be tearing this thing back apart later, folks, so keep an eye out for that video. Sounds like a monsoon outside. Practically is a monsoon out there. So, okay. Yep. Remember to get these things clocked in correctly. So, this is not going together as well as it came apart. Oh, that's why. No. Come apart then, and we'll fix ya. Okay, I'm getting bored. I know you folks are too. There. This thing is not clocking in correctly. Let's get the plastic hammer going. Go. And now we'll put the screws in first. Make sure that the back cap and the internals are together. Nope, they're not. Okay. There. Got to come up a little. Make sure that the seal stays down. And we might lose some power here, folks. So, if that happens, I'll just switch over to flashlight. So, now, this seal likes to keep coming up. So, you don't want to wreck your seal. There. Now they're threading in proper. What I mean by proper is the fact that if your hands aren't grease pits like mine, you should be able to just take and now you want to run the bolts down evenly so that you don't have the starter going off to one side or the other. Just keep that in mind, that that's how we do it. Okay, so next we've got the cross bolt for the solenoid. This is going to be a pain. I'm going to just tell you that right now, folks. It's going to be a pain. So, if you folks know an easier way to do it, please leave it in the comments. I think everybody would love to know. So, righty. Now, I remember what I wanted to do. I wanted to grease the internal part right there with just a little bit. That may even be a little bit too much. Yes, that may just be a little bit much. But now let's see, can we find that thing with the pick? Okay. Now we're gonna slide this through with, you folks probably cannot even see. Move that. Now the head of the bolt went through the side that's countersunk. Ta-da! Now, it's got an 8mm head on the one side and a 10mm nut on the other. Now you want it snug but not reefed down tight. Oh, boys, it got humid real fast. Now you could reach in there and make sure your gear moves superiorly. So last thing to go on should be the solenoid. Solenoid just kind of hooks in there. I might even put a little bit of grease on that. Like I said, not a lot. Just enough to help lubricate it. Back over. And come on, baby. Big pain in the butt getting solenoid. So gonna take the wire off. Come on, let me take you off. That was reefed down there. There. There we go. Now. Don't tell me we're gonna have to take the slide bolt out. Oh boy. I think we got it, folks. Yep, we got it. So. These two small bolts go into the solenoid housing, and they don't want to start into the home real well. So because these are captured, these they got that weird end on them where they are almost like self-tappers. Now this is where long extensions come in real handy, folks, when you're having to do this kind of work. Alright, we got most of the big components put back together. Yay! Make sure everything's snug, because, you know, this is going on a big diesel engine. 6.2 liters. Nowadays seems like a big motor, but heck, now we're gonna put our crossover cable in. Grab a 13mm socket. Should be for both. And now, I have done a short review on these Craftsman tools. And if I remember, I'll link it down into the description where you can watch my review on Craftsman tools. Alrighty, we're all back together. Let me clean up a little bit, and we're gonna try this starter out. So now this is a 350 amp jump box. This should have more than enough power to kick this starter over. With no load. Might even hit that with some lanolin. Now, this has a solenoid on the starter. It does not have solenoid on the vehicle. What I mean by that is that the battery voltage, battery current is controlled at the starter, not on a firewall somewhere. So you're going to need a jump wire for this, and you're going to want to jump it right over to where your ignition would be switched. So there's that. Now this thing is going to spin like crazy if I can get this jump box to work. Is it the solenoid? Oh. Well, that's one way to work that grease in. Now, got to figure out why it's not kicking over. This should be direct from battery, unless my jump wire here is shot. Huh. We'll figure this out, folks, because like I said before, we need this truck today, so that solenoid not making good connection with anything? Well, let's check. Test, don't guess. Might not be making good contact with that stud, so There we go. Now, one thing I'm noticing about this starter is that it's still not spinning as fast as it should. Even with 300 amps. Well, it is drawing good power from the jump box, so I guess, yeah, it's killing the jump box real fast. But, well, at least we know it works. It pulls power now. So, I hope this was helpful, folks. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.